Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are returning to the WWF the Magazine review videos. Last week we just started 1990. So today we are on the February 1990 magazine, and I love these. I love every type of magazine that has this sort of breakdown of different characters. Don't get me wrong. When you have Hogan on the cover, Warrior, Demolition, The Rockers, Powers of Pain on the cover of the magazines, those are incredible individual magazines to look at, right? But anytime you have like WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, or like these type of things, right? Survivor Series, and you have like all of these group of different characters, I think it's equally as important as well. So I'm really enthusiastic to get through this particular magazine. Obviously, February 1990, I would have turned 5 years old this month, so that also makes this particular magazine ultra special to me. So let's take a look and see what it says. In this issue, the Royal Rumble preview, and the Macho King has his viewpoint. Survivor Series results, all the action and exclusive photos. Hulk Hogan in main event, genius shocker. That's probably talking about Lanny. The Rockers, can they prevail over the Powers of Pain? Absolutely they can. They're the greatest tag team ever. Well, maybe second to Legion of Doom. Brutus Beefcake, proving himself a model wrestler. Well, hasn't he always been a model wrestler? I know a lot of people aren't like the biggest Beefcake fans, but I always love Brutus Beefcake. And kind of like a little side note here. You know how I always say, when you've got the wrestling action figures, right? You may not be a fan of a particular wrestler, but maybe you absolutely love their toy, the action figure you played with when you were a kid, right? So for that reason, you would absolutely love them. Now, given that Brutus Beefcake Series 1 was one of the worst action figures ever made, and I always talked about having this figure as a kid, right? And just because of the way that his arm was positioning for the sleeper hold, and that stupid the way that the fingers were set up, it was just like I never knew how, as a kid, how to play with him. I was a Brutus Beefcake fan, but I couldn't like figure out like the right way to utilize that toy. So, but that would be one of those scenarios where I could say, well, you know what? He didn't like his toy, so he probably didn't like the wrestler himself. But nope. I was a pretty big Brutus Beefcake fan, I believe. So let's move forward. Queen Sherry, is she the power behind the throne? Absolutely, 1,000,000%. You know, they're obviously in Series 1 with the Mattel LJN Superstars. They're coming out with the new Polka Dot Dusty Rhodes. And I don't know, man. When I kind of look like big rubber guys, either red or yellow Trunks figures, I mean, which one do I like better? Do I like it without shirt, or do I like it better with the actual polka dot singlet? Personally, I'd rather have him with like nightstick and the little the hat. What do you call those darn hats? They're not 1920s newspaper hats, but something like that, right? And the tie dye shirt. I'd rather see something different, something like that. And these two guys squaring off for the Intercontinental title. Absolute killer. So let's take this bad boy out and let's see what we see. Alright, so it is removed from the protective case. And this magazine does feel pretty thick, so this could be a 30-minute video. Hopefully not. I like to keep these to about 20 minutes, but... Alright, the Royal Rumble 1990. And... what was it? Was it 90? Yeah, it was 1991. So I think in 1990, was it Mr. Perfect or Earthquake? I'm trying to think. I don't actually remember. But if I remember correctly, I think 1990 was Hogan's, obviously his first Royal Rumble championship, and he grabbed Perfect and basically launched him. He didn't just throw him over the ropes. That man went flying. I'm like, wow. It's like whenever you throw Bret Hart against a turnbuckle, he just slams into that thing full force. Like, Perfect seems to always go flying over the ropes like that. So crazy. And then in 1991, when Hogan went back-to-back, I think he just big booted Earthquake in the face and, sent him over too. But I love Earthquake, one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. Top 10, top 12, top 15 favorites. But I don't know, man. I think that would be a little bit odd to try to get one man, Hogan, to hit Earthquake over the rope. So using the boot, I mean, was that a good finisher? Probably not. I don't know. But the way that Perfect went flying, shoot, that was kind of realistic. And I still say the 92 Rumble was probably the best, with maybe 1990 being second, maybe 91 the third best. So when it first started, its inaugural Rumble at 88, all the way going to about 93, let's say, Royal Rumbles were fantastic. And then it just started kind of going downhill after that. But the 90s still produced a lot of really good Royal Rumbles. Obviously, by 97, early 98, I was out of wrestling, no longer following the sport. So, I mean, what can I say? Did I really watch any of them? Did I watch the 98 Rumble? Did I watch the 2000, 2005, 2015, etc.? Eventually, a lot of them I did. That's because, maybe you're on deployment and you're watching YouTube and they have those Rumbles available on YouTube. So that's where I caught a lot of, future Rumbles. But I watched them all out of order. And I've only saw like a handful of them since. So it's not like I watched every single one. And then we've got Lanny and we've got Kurt Hennig. So the Genius and Perfect together. And yes, I talked about last video, there is going to be a Lanny Poffo Big Rubber Guys figure coming soon. So I think that's going to be pretty amazing. Ooh, the history of WrestleMania. I don't like when people do this whole Star Wars BS. So, I don't know, I'm just not a fan of that. Special 5th Anniversary Edition. Cool. Alright, so that has piqued my interest. Fan forum. I would never look at these. And of course the fan club. Yeah, I didn't have any of those cards. I mean, I had a lot of trading cards when I was a kid. And I've collected a number of them today, to this day, recently. But we're not talking no massive collection. I'm probably talking maybe 50 to 100 cards, if that. So, nah, I do have a whole booklet full of them. So that I bought on eBay. So I probably have a whole lot more than that. Sapphire is Dusty's manager. I like how a lot of people, they take the LJN of Adrian Adonis and they create themselves a Sapphire. I'm like, dude, come on, man. That's not even the same body type. But, I mean, I think I would say for custom work, they do a pretty good job. And, of course, later on, man, when the $1 Million Man bought Sapphire, essentially, and then she just left, Dusty high and dry. And, he comes out of the darn, out of the changing room, whatever, locker room, and, he's trying to chase her down while she's being driven away. I'm like, oh, that was such a freaking depressing-ass moment. I love this, man. I love this outfit, and you bet your ass, excuse my language, I do have a Honky Tonk Man Hasbro custom that looks just like that. Incredible. One of the best pieces. You really have to be an amazing artist to be able to conduct this type of artwork onto a Hasbro figure. So, for those that don't like original LJN, guess what? You want to flip over Ram Treasures. She does have a rubber Honky Tonk Man figure in stock. And you can always change, the color scheme that you want for that particular piece. But you do finally have an in-ring gear ready Honky Tonk Man. But Honky Tonk Man, Series 2 of Hasbro, it was one of those figures I had as a kid, right? So that particular piece will always go down as one of my all-time favorites. Yeah, the story, I've already told the story. I don't know what company this is, but maybe Columbia House. But Columbia House is definitely where I bought a ton of my DVDs and maybe even a bunch of CDs in the past as well. Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart. Do we want to read about Jimmy? Nah. We're not going to read about Jimmy. Jimmy, I will tell you one thing, bud. Because of your original San Francisco dark-skinned air figure, you guys seen that? I mean, I know it's a short video, right? And short videos do not get monetized. At least for me, they don't. But that darn video has like 13,000 plus in views. And I'm like, go figure. The one video that for me that actually does extremely well, I can't get paid for, which sucks. But still, man, I'm still riding high on how well that video is doing. I hope that video continues to do well. I would love to come back like 5 years later and see that video at like 2 million views. And you know what? If it hit like 50,000 views, like I would be absolutely mind blown. But so we got Hogan versus Poffo. All right. Does it say anything special here? Just trying to read through here real quick, just to see if anything really stands out. But yeah, you know Hogan gonna tear this guy up. And I think, yep, they got Mr. Perfect on the outside. I think he was like the manager or whatnot during this matchup. Brutal. I'm trying to remember. Did these events occur before or after the Royal Rumble? I want to say after. Like, but that's Survivor Series results. I mean, Survivor Series normally happens, what, November? Why would they come back like 3 months later with the results? And if that was Mr. Perfect, that was thrown over in the 1990 Rumble, like I mentioned, maybe this was like kind of like a lead up to that event. So I just think that's really cool. Brutus the Barber Beefcake says, the motto lives in La La Land. I didn't watch that movie, La La Land. Don't recommend it either way. Previews make it look absolutely horrific. But these are good photos with Brutus and Rick Martel. Yep, I got that custom. I've got that custom. I've got those custom. When it comes to LJN customs, man, there's like a million Brutus Beefcake figures that I have. So those are always pretty awesome. Uh-oh. Who we have here? Yeah. Slick in the model. I don't know, man. Like, I'm not used to Rick Martel in blue tights. Like, to me, pink trunks, Rick Martel, the model Rick Martel, that is my Rick Martel, right? It's like when I talk about the British Bulldogs. I'll look at the British Bulldog, you know, Davey Boy Smith in like UK color scheme, right? And so when you talk about the Bulldogs as a tag team, like that's not what I grew up with. So when you say Bulldog, I just think of one individual. So when I look at Rick Martel, I'm like, okay, here's Rick Martel in pink. But when you see Rick Martel Strike Force in white, or if you see him like AWA days, or if you look at him in like in blue tights, etc., right? Like I don't really remember like that Rick Martel AWA or anything like that. So first time I think I saw that look was probably when I started collecting Rumcos. Of course, I didn't grow up watching AWA. In fact, I don't think I even knew about AWA until, you know, years and years later. But always fun, man. God, these guys are massive. I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. I just don't recall an event. But has Akeem or One Man Gang, whichever you prefer, did they ever have a matchup against Andre the Giant? And I'm not talking some like 2-minute, you know, toss around and pin type of match, you know. I want a real like 30-minute matchup between those guys. With their sizes, man, that would be absolutely incredible. I'm eager to kind of go through these, the merchandising, because, ooh, I've seen this on eBay a lot. And I think they're only asking like, well, at least back in the day, I think they're asking like $45. But it may have been from like a UK-based seller. So that jacket back in the day was selling for, shoot. If this back in 1990 was $45 and that same jacket is selling today on eBay for $45, yeah, I should have took my butt and bought that. Would have given the opportunity, but I'm not really into collecting clothing. Not really. I mean, there might be some here and there that kind of spark my interest, but I'll tell you what, just because it's in this magazine, I went for this sucker, and I saw 2 different versions. And I wasn't sure which one was the right one. Should have picked them both up. Are these the belts? So, not this. I had white belts, but they were white belts and they were the heavyweight title. So, I wanted to look at this merchandising just because of these belts, because that's childhood, that's nostalgia for me. And then you look at some of the awesome t-shirts. Again, if these t-shirts weren't selling for like $125 a piece, I would love to have these. Now, Matt, and I don't want to get some, reprint of them either. Like, I like to have the original shirts. But, I mean, what am I going to pay on a t-shirt? $10? Maybe 20? You think you're going to buy a 1980s or early 1990s t-shirts for $20? It's like, get the heck out of here. Even the material themselves, like, they use polyester nowadays, right? So you think about like these soft cotton style t-shirts. It could be nothing more than a plain blank white t-shirt, and that darn thing would probably, if it's made out of cotton, it's probably going to cost you a good $15, $20 just for a plain white shirt. Well, this looks like fun. The Dream Team versus the Enforcers. Nice. That is so awesome. 4x4s versus the King's Court. Uh-oh. Looks like the King has himself a little bit of a trouble here now, isn't he? Brett. Do not get yourself in the clutches of freaking Earthquake, man. Whenever he does like the Earthquake, right? The stomp, when he jumps around the head of the guy, and then he runs around back and forth, gets ropes a couple times before he squashes them. You can tell, though, that whenever Earthquake goes for the squash, like, he's always very conscientious. Like, I don't want to say he looks scared, but watch Yokozuna do a bonsai drop on anybody. It looks like he's putting his full 600-pound weight all on those guys. I mean, there's one jobber type. I swear to God, he murdered that guy in the ring. This guy's 550, 600 pounds, and the way he landed on that guy, there's not a doubt in my mind that he just completely destroyed, turned that guy's chest bones into freaking charcoal, or into some kind of, I don't know, some kind of powder, because it was insane, right? When I look at a lot of these other guys, like, let's say Earthquake as an example, the way that he sits on the guy, like, you could tell that he's really holding back. I mean, he's still a 480-pound guy, 450-pound guy, something like that. So, I mean, if he were to actually sit on a person full weight, oh yeah, they'd be dead. Hulkamaniacs versus $1 Million Team. I look at this referee. I don't know if that's I can never tell. I don't know if that's Earl or Dave right there. I think that's Dave Hebner. But look at him, man. He's got like the freaking sleeper hold on Zeus here. I need a minute. I can't stop laughing at that. Look at that face. Freaking smash. It's like, what the hell's going on over here? This is a fun one. Rude's Brood versus Roddy's Rowdies. Okay, that both names are stupid as heck. You got Roddy Piper, probably Snuka, and the Bushwhackers. Yeah, that is a horrible freaking tag team. Roddy Piper is one of the greatest wrestlers ever, but the Bushwhackers, come on. Not that type of fan. Jimmy Snuka, he could go flying out the turnbuckle all he wants. I am not the biggest Jimmy Snuka fan in the world. I mean, I guess he was okay, but not like the mega superstar in my eyes. So, yeah. Who else is part of this? So maybe it was the Rougeau brothers mixed in with Mr. Perfect and Rick Rude. Ultimate Warrior versus Heenan's family, or Ultimate Warriors versus Heenan family. So this is a good one because you've got the Rockers. I think you had Jim Neidhart and Ultimate Warrior, and then you've got, who was it? Was it Andre? No, because does this show you here? Here we go. So Andre, Haku, Bobby Heenan, and Arn Anderson, maybe? Yeah. So Arn Anderson, I guess we're your 4, and they were taking on Ultimate Warrior, Shawn Michaels. We're both Rockers, I would assume. Let's see. Counted out after Ultimate Warrior clotheslined over the ropes. Again, I don't care who you are. You could be 10,000 freaking Lex Lugers, man. You're not clotheslining Andre the Giant over the ropes. Unless he intentionally wants to go over. But, okay, bad example. A bit of an exaggeration. Just a bit. Haku pinned Jim Neidhart. Bobby Heenan pinned Marty Jannetty. Come on. Don't do that to Marty. I mean, this man has suffered enough in life, okay? He had his head thrown through a darn window. Come on. And to boot, I think his biggest downfall in life was probably being pinned by Bobby Heenan. Oh, God. All right, who else was in this? So, yeah, the Rockers, Jim Neidhart, and Ultimate Warrior versus Bobby Heenan, Andre the Giant, Haku, and Arn Anderson. So, that's basically who I wanted to see who was part of that matchup. Oh, this is pretty awesome. The Rockers challenge the powers of pain. Now, that is pretty damn cool. Also, I like about this is, do I have a duplicate up there? Big Rubber Guys. Nope, that was Series 3. Marty Jannetty came out in Series 3, and I didn't start collecting duplicates of Big Rubber Guys until about Series 5. But they do have the Marty Jannetty in this exact outfit, which is pretty badass. Even Ram Treasures, their design was with them in purple pants. Maybe something like this or similar. But, you know, with those figures, you get both Marty and Shawn, which is awesome. But they're customs, so there's that. And you can choose any paint scheme you want. Me, I went with the paint scheme where they're in Indiana, and they defeated the Hart Foundation for the tag team titles on a house show, or an unaired show. And once the ropes broke, or whatever, they're like, nah, you know what? We don't want to make Rockers champion. You know, Hart Foundation are still tag team champs. And I'm like, pfft. I think that's one of the biggest. I mean, there is plenty of people. I mean, I can't just, you know, cave to one specific tag team. But the Rockers should have been multiple time tag team champions. They should have held these titles for like a year or two. I mean, they were a beloved tag team. They were mega superstars. If they wanted to kind of tee off and have Shawn go his own way, be his own superstar, they could still have individual matches. Shawn Michaels could have been heavyweight champion. Marty Jannetty could have been intercontinental champion. And they both simultaneously could have been tag team champions together. So I don't see any point of saying, you know, just because you're in a tag team, like you can't have any individual run. But I think they did make things a little bit better later on when they did allow Marty Jannetty to win the Intercontinental title for a whole 15 seconds. But he was champion, and that's all that matters, right? Go head-to-head wireless. I don't know what the hell those remotes are. Like, I did not have any remotely close remotes. Should have chose a better choice of words right there, but Sherry. Cool. That's a good photo. I like that. The power behind the throne. Absolutely. Until she betrayed Macho and got her butt whooped by Elizabeth. Oh God, freaking Hogan, man! When he puts her in the atomic leg drop, and then she just falls into the clutches of Elizabeth, and Elizabeth just knocks her. Oh God, those are like some of the funniest damn moments. I love Sherry, man, but she was like all over the place. Manager of Randy Savage, manager of Shawn Michaels, manager of Teddy DiBiase. I believe she managed Rick Martel. I could be wrong about that. Um, now I'm just thinking about it. Now I'm confused. Now I can't remember. But yeah, like I mean, she wasn't like out there like Jimmy Hart. I feel like Jimmy Hart managed every person that has ever wrestled in life in their wrestled at any point in their lifetime. So, uh, but yeah, she had a pretty nice darn stable of wrestlers. Now, if they were creating these individual stables, right? I couldn't put Million Dollar Man under there with her because I feel like the Million Dollar Corporation would be like its own individual stable, right? So, but there were a lot of people that came out with some heavy hitters. I know Bobby Heenan usually gets the big award for like having the best lineup or whatever with Andre and Rick Rude, King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd, right? Mr. Perfect, but I look at Jimmy Hart, Nasty Boys, Natural Disasters. Later on, he managed Hulk Hogan. So, I mean, he had his massive stable himself. I mean, that's just a few, obviously. I mean, there's like 100 gazillion more to go through, but just a couple or a few of my highlights. Get it now. Yeah, I gotta start looking for these Spotlight magazines. Only because I want the covers. I think they're pretty awesome. Caught in the act. Look out below was probably the thought that raced through Ravishing Rick Rude's mind when Roddy Piper sent him flying over the flying heels with a back body drop. Yeah. WWF presents Every Man for Himself Royal Rumble. Yeah, talking about that event with Lenny Poffo and Mr. Perfect, that was definitely before the 1990 Royal Rumble. So seeing Mr. Perfect and Hogan as the last two standing, it was just a great way to finesse the two of them together in the end. I think that was pretty incredible. So, well, we went almost 30 minutes, which I kind of expected when I saw the depth of this magazine, but it was still a fun one, guys. As always, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next week, thanks, everybody.